It's officially time to panic. I I don't know. I spent all of last week's episode of Damage Boost slash the Bear Necessities talking about how it was game one, everyone's overreacting, and that it was going to be fine. They were playing a great defense, and Kayla, it was like everything, new coach, all that. It's gonna be fine. I don't know anymore. That that was Trustman era esque, getting beat by the Patriots. That was one of the many Matt Eberflus games. I don't I don't believe in like ghosts and and forces that control the universe. Um, but this team, this season already, 2 games in, I I think curses are real. There's no other way to explain how you could get a quarterback number one overall, have that game happen with Levy Smith winning that last game out the door for the Texans to get you that pick. Make the trade, how everything fell the way it did. Then to get the quarterback who's supposed to be a generational talent. I hate that word. I think it's thrown around too much. But still, you know, hard to believe that if anything, he'd be good at least, right? And to get what was considered one of the best coaching prospects in a long time. And it wasn't just one of those random, oh, you've been in the same room and as Sean McVay, here's a job. It wasn't the normal Bears thing of get a guy who was adjacent, similar to the McVay thing, but didn't really do the thing that they're being hired for, like Matt Nagy. I've been podcasting, God, for 4 or 5 years. Damage Boost, even though it's been off and on the last couple of years due to work and family things. Close over 200 episodes. Been on a lot of others, and I could talk for days about anything and just really keep it going. I am at a loss for words. I'm struggling to get enough out to even fill 10 minutes of this, let alone make potentially 20-30 minute episode. But I guess we'll give it a shot. Let's start with the defense. The one thing, and I'm not alone in this, the one thing I think everybody wasn't worried about was the defense. It was, well, Dennis Allen, yeah, he's been a god awful head coach, but his defenses have never been bad. He's always been good to great as a coordinator, his defenses. And the second half of the Bears Vikings game, I was attributing it to being tired when they started giving up things, being down Jalen Johnson, oh my God, Kyler Gordon, T.J. Edwards, having another guy go down on their team, and then having another corner out for the season before that. And I was like, okay, they held pretty good. There was crack showing, plus the momentum of the offense absolutely crapping the bed. But this was really bad. This was fundamentally getting beat on the scheme. Like again, it was a pretty solid first half until that last drive where they were getting beat in ways they shouldn't have. I wasn't paying close enough attention at that point in the game because I was already pretty pissed. But if it was they got conservative for that, the second or for the end of that drive that end the first half. Oh, sorry. or just it was playing thin because I think that at that point Jalen Johnson got hurt again, and I think he's going to be out for a long time. It was a groin injury before this. He laid out, made a great play, and like in the moment he left is when things really started to snowball. Um, but then that second half, so I I quit watching for a little bit because I was like, you know what? Screw this. I need a break. Went and did other things, made lunch, all that stuff. I come back and it's 45 to what, 14-21 at that point. There's no excuse to get 50 points in the NFL. I you can't be calling that bad of a game, or you're so stubborn in your scheme. Like I know he plays a lot of man, and that's kind of his thing. You don't have the personnel to cover Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamar Gibbs coming out of the backfield and Sam Laporta, and with Jared Goff being as accurate and as good as he can be. You can't. There was no adjustments, and the one thing, as much as I despise Matt Eberflus, he consistently did. Well, not consistently, but he did more than already I've seen from Johnson. Again, it's been 2 games. His halftime adjustments, at least defensively, seem to be pretty good, and things would clamp down, and it's been the opposite. I don't know if they're not making adjustments, or if they're overwhelmed or what. I don't know. I've been hurt before by this team, right? Since I can remember football, I've been a fan. Like I know as a kid my parents let me dip my toes in other fandoms. I remember having a John Elway jersey, Troy Aikman, and because they were on teams that won, and that was cool. But I learned that my dad was a Bears fan. My grandpa, when he was alive at that point, was a Bears fan. So my earliest days of really caring was watching Jim freaking Miller be the quarterback, Marty Booker being our best receiver, the David Terrell being drafted in the first round, but ended up sucking. Keith Traylor making that interception against Mark Brunell. Mike Brown for second consecutive week, taking over interceptions to clinch games. I watched Henry Burris start a game live against the Bucs, like in person. It was one of the few games I've been able to see in person. I remember our best wide receivers at one point being Justin Gage and Bobby Wade. I feel that, I guess I'll take a step back. This offseason felt different. Ryan Poles shouldn't have kept his job. I defended keeping him, saying, it's there. He was making picks. He was making picks for Eberflus's defense and whoever's offense, and he was handcuffed because he was not really in control. It was Armstrong, the shadow Bears president, before Kevin Warren was able to get him kicked out. I'm like, all right, with Ben Johnson here and having to say in personnel, and I think that's pretty evident with Colson Loveland being their first pick, this will be different. We probably have a mid to maybe above average GM in terms of evaluating talent and all that, but we'll make this work. The coach will be good enough to scheme this up. And in the preseason, we saw what seemed to be really good scheme. Caleb Williams throwing off the top of his drop, hitting guys in stride. We knew it was preseason, but even in preseason, we hadn't seen things run smoothly like that before. And maybe it still will, and I'll come back to that, but having, all those things, have it be this bad. It's not like 0-2 is fine. I think I said 7 to 9 wins was probably what this team was gonna have, and I'd be ecstatic by that because it was 5 last year and it was probably shouldn't have been those 5. But it's how we get to those 7, even if they manage to get 7 at this point. Like they have this, I get they have the toughest, second toughest strength of schedule, I believe now, of all the teams in the NFL. But if you're winning 7 games, but the other games you lose are giving up 52 to Detroit, just getting your ass handed to you in the end of a quarter. You're not losing close games. You're not losing shootouts. You're not losing a tight defensive game. You're just getting your ass spanked. You're getting embarrassed. And I'm not like I didn't see. I saw a little the first quarter. The offense did look competent, and it looked like okay, Caleb Williams is not breaking down into that hero ball bullshit and dropping his arm and all that. And like okay, like let's just at least we're getting to Rome Duze. We're trying with the run a little bit more, even though how like Brian Poles for real. How do you come in to this season with this running back group? We know Swift cannot run between the fucking tackles. Roschon Johnson did not look good. That's another pick of his. By the way, 3 second round picks that were healthy scratches. And I was getting annoyed with people bitching about that this last time. But the more I think about it and the more I see this team, that's insane. Like those picks have to hit, and if they're not playing, they're not hitting. There's no way they shouldn't be at least active. God, I even forgot what I was fucking saying. But then it all you also with that running back. I have to go back to that. I'm sorry. The running back thing. You should have traded up at some point in that draft and taken. There's so many running backs. With the very very least, grab Caleb Johnson. Like I wasn't super as high on him as others because he didn't really have speed, but he'd be your power back to Swift's speed. You let guys constantly get sniped ahead of you. Like you should have traded. Or Brian Robinson Jr. was available. He would have been a great part of this offense. I don't care if they didn't think it was a scheme fit. Freaking make it happen. I would have taken Bixby at this point for those, even though I think the Eagles did give up a lot. This group isn't doing it. They can't do anything. I like Kyle. I forget how to say his name, but it's very clear why he was in the 7th. He just looks not fast enough to be a NFL running back, a running back or one or oh my god, a 1 or 2 on a team. Yeah, he could be fine to be your 3rd and get a carry once in a while and be good on special teams. Great. He's a little bit shifty, but he's got no real speed, no real acceleration. It is very clear that he's a bottom of the roster guy. If they don't trade for another running back, then you're punting on the season. And if you want to punt on the season, that's fine. Get the higher pick, whatever. It's a I did come into this thing. It was a developmental season. I did not think we were going to be a playoff team, especially with as tough as this division was going to be. That was even before I thought the Packers were real. I think just between the Lions and the Vikings, it was going to be a slugfest at that top of the division. I think this comes down to the Bears being like so many other fucking Chicago teams and just being okay with the status quo. I'm glad they fired Eberflus. That needed to happen, but they didn't want to make enough change to get rid of Brian Poles. You could have. You could have. I don't think it was cheapness because they extended him after they hired. It's just that George McCaskey, that not wanting to have turnover and cohesion. It doesn't matter in the NFL. You get the best guys. If they suck, you get rid of them. That's it. It's got to be a business like that, or you're not going to be any good. It hurts. It hurts that week 2. Week 2, I'm already telling my partner, don't schedule things around Bears games. Like, we're fine. If we got to go do other shit, it's fine. I don't care. I don't see them watching. I haven't really cared about fantasy football in, I don't know, probably 10 years. I do it mostly for the social part of it, as an excuse to keep up with old friends and people all, that have moved, way far away from where I live. And I feel myself becoming more invested in it simply because I love football. I love football. I love consuming it. I love watching it. I love learning. I love playing it. And in order to scratch that itch, I'm going to dive more into fantasy football just for the fun of it, to learn more about other players on teams that aren't fucking dog shit. It's it's legitimately heartbreaking. And it sounds so stupid, but I like having big emotions in sports, and hate and anger and highs and lows, because it feels like a safe place to have it. It's a silly thing, and I like that we can get that up and down about it, because life is serious and scary enough. It's nice to play with the extremes of the emotions, and in essentially the safe space, like a video game or sports, or whatever. But it does suck to, I don't know, invest as much as I have in my life of watching this and believing that I'll eventually turn around. Like, I just turned 37, and this game weirdly made me really come face to face with my mortality. uh, that the rebuilding and waiting for the next QB and time to develop, and God, if they have to reset this again, there's a good chance I'll be in my mid 40s before that team is good. And that's been my mindset. Well, okay, it's gonna happen. And I'm not that old, and it's been like that for years. And then Mitch, like, or the Jay Cutler years, when I was, I think, a sophomore in college. I was like, oh, this is great, and that was it had some good times, but that went away, and then it was Mitch, and okay, this has got potential. This is second overall pick. This will be great. Nope. And then I don't remember if there was a gap year or not there without a young QB, but I think they got rid of Mitch and then drafted Fields, but I might be wrong. But then we get Fields, who was my favorite quarterback out of that class. Still is. I love the way he looks in a Jets uniform, and I hope it keeps going well for him there. But that didn't work, and right now, like, honest to God, I think Justin Fields might be a better fit than Caleb Williams in this offense, simply because he's not great at throwing, like, guys open, the, like, more traditional, like, throw it to where the play is going to be open rather than the open guy. But Caleb Williams can't hit the open guy or throw to the spot people need to be, for the most part. Like, he has that, like, a quarter a game where he looks like, yeah, that's the guy that you wanted when you drafted. But outside of that, it's not there. And Justin Fields, yeah, he's got 5-6 years in the league, 7 years in the league at this point, so that helps. I think, and I'll go back to that, but developing QBs is a lot harder than ever. But I think he would be better in this team. I think he'd be getting the ball to people more. I think it would work out. I think QBs are kind of screwed with the way the NFL is set up. I really do wish there was a true developmental league, so you could put guys, I mean, all positions really, but QB especially, the guys are finding second lives when they get other chances, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, and I'm sure we'll see more, because they had time to develop, went to systems that fit their style a little bit better. So, yeah, maybe Caleb Williams would have been better if they didn't hand him the reins off the bat. Maybe we should have really gave him that freshman year. But I think at that point, Eberflus knew he should have been fired the year before. We all know that. I think that's another Ryan Poles Bears failing there, is they fire him last year. because you're drafting a QB. You potentially get Ben Johnson because I think he was eyeing the Bears just because of how moldable that position was going to be, and there is way more talent on this team technically than a lot of bad teams. Or you get another good candidate from that hiring cycle, and maybe Caleb Williams is nowhere near as raw as he is right now. I defended so many of these moves because I was like, I can kind of see it. Let's do it against. And there are so many. Okay, like we touched on this last week, but Caleb Williams is unfairly hated beyond belief. Like, yeah, I know I'm shitting on him now, but this is if I'm giving fair critiques of what he's been doing wrong. I'm not sitting here breaking down anything because watching Drake May, it's not great either. Like in other young QBs, I think QB is hard. Obviously a hard position, but even the greats still aren't as perfect in our minds as we think they are. They're still bad throws, miscommunications. So I'm not giving up on Caleb Williams, but the other thing that concerns me is where we should be. Why would he doesn't hardly ever throw in the middle of the field? It feels like every throw we have is running back flailing out, or it's to the outside of the hash marks, like all of them. And to me, is that Ben Johnson afraid that Caleb Williams is too inaccurate to use the middle of the field? Is it bad scheme? Because there's no way his scheme can be that bad. The way he drew things up in preseason, he was using the middle of the field. Is this a lack of trust? Is it because Jonah Jackson sucks balls? Again, another Ryan Poles move. You paid a lot to get somebody who hadn't been good in a little bit. Yeah, he was an All-Pro when he was with Detroit, but he hadn't seen that in a couple years with his time in LA. And I know he's playing out of position, but you brought him over here and he's playing out of position again. Not at least he's playing the guard. He's just playing the opposite guard that he was when he was an All-Pro. What do we do here? I want to care. I want to be. I this offseason, I yearned for this to start. I just felt like a lot of things we did, the things that made the most sense. We made the obvious moves that we needed to make, outside of Poles being fired, and obviously the running back thing, but everything seemed to be improved. I liked the signings for the old line, for the most part. I liked Trapillo in the second round to potentially be the future left tackle. I liked every coach they brought in for the staff. I really thought was brilliant. I guess outside of the Poles and the running back group, I thought all the moves were really good. Grady Jarrett on the defensive line. I didn't. The guy from the Colts. His name escapes me right now, and I know I'd probably say it wrong even if I knew it. That move was one of those Poles ones where I'm like, yeah, where's Montez Sweat? Where's he been all year? He was great the first half of the season they had him, and I do really believe that Mac had a lower ankle foot injury that bothered him last year. Where is he this year? Why is he not? He should be wrecking games. Even if they're legit, he should be wrecking games. Where the hell are you? The guy they got from the Colts is actually he sticks out when you watch. You see him more. Where's Grady Jarrett? I'm not an expert by any means, so maybe Grady Jarrett is doing his job at the nose, and I'm just not seeing it. But why are our corners? Why are we playing man if our corners are getting beat non-fucking stop? Why how many plays were guys open by 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet? Because they either got schemed open really well, or the corner got bit on something. Why aren't we doing that? Rome is. Where's DJ? I mean, I've also been defending the DJ stuff for a while, but where does he go? Why aren't we using our tight ends? We have two really good tight ends. Why are we not using them? Oh, probably because they have to stay in and block because our line still isn't good enough. Why do we have so many fucking snaps? I get that his scheme isn't easy. But they have been so bad these two games, outside of the first, half of the Minnesota game, that it conceivably does not make logical sense. It doesn't feel like there's any way we should be this bad. This team should be this bad. I get mistakes happening and being 0-2. I get that. Again, I did not expect this team to win these first two games. It doesn't make sense how we are this bad. It doesn't make sense that Ben Johnson would be this bad of a coach. I get that he improved his ability to call plays. He had proved his ability to adjust and scheme up. So why does it feel like every other Bears offense right now? It doesn't make sense. I honestly cannot comprehend what is going on. Is he overwhelmed by it? Is he going to give up play calling duties this early so he can focus on being a head coach? Are they going to have to fire? They probably won't fire him during the season, but are they going to fire Dennis Allen? Because this is bad. I honestly, and it would be so fucking Bears to maybe end up firing Ryan Poles this offseason after getting an extension. I doubt it because they're cheap and they're not going to do that. They have to figure out all this money for the stadium. But they're supposed to be lock and step, like as I go, you go kind of deal. And I don't think that's fair to Ben Johnson. Even though I haven't seen anything on him these first two games. How is he supposed to make those running backs work? Jonah Jackson, like really? No depth in corner when or it's in the secondary really in general. You kind of just get with the same deal and then try to make it better. Especially after Tyreek Stevenson. Oh yeah, and the corner you did draft is out for the year with personal reasons, and I will say the Bears are really good about like keeping guys' stuff private for them when they've had tragedies in their family and stuff. So maybe I shouldn't probably complain about that one because maybe that is something that they did do the moral right thing on, and I'm just looking for things. But I don't know. I hope if any Bears fans are actually gonna pick up on this podcast series of the Bear Necessities presented by Damage Boost. Can we have a group therapy session in the comments maybe? Talk about what we feel and what we feel when this team hurts us. Because holy crap, I feel deflated. I feel I don't feel it, apathy, not empathy, apathy. When I start to feel nothing again, that's when I'll really worry, because that happened. I think probably after the Thanksgiving game last year, where I was just like, okay, this isn't worth my time. I guess the fact that I feel hurt and confused is probably good, because I still care, and I don't want to lose this hobby, this passion. But I hope things get better. I think the only direction things can go from up, but I feel like that's almost like saying, what else could go wrong in a movie and something catastrophic goes worse. Speaking of, and I'll end on this thought, like I called out on the last episode, CHGO having a guy who is like team agent, and just like maybe he needs to lose the job, and or Williams needs to lose the job to Bajent and all that, and I was like, that's so fucking stupid. That's just hater shit. It's click shit. I didn't watch all of Bajent's play because I was, once both teams had back quarterbacks, then I was like, again, I can go do laundry. I can I can do something else with my life that's more productive than this. And he threw it in the middle of the field, and he threw it with way more accuracy. So that was cool. I thought that extension he got was because he did want to stay here because he knew Ben Johnson was gonna help him become more of a prepared starter, and maybe they could help trade him later to a destination he wanted to go rather than have to fight free agency. You'll get one of those. Okay, we'll trade for him and have an extension ready, and here's like a decent pick rather than losing him in free agency. But maybe it was insurance. You know, maybe it was, what if Caleb Williams doesn't work? Or if Caleb Williams gets hurt and this guy is actually good, we can just rock this. What if? With that, I think I will end the episode today. Don't know what I'm going to call this one yet. Thinking about just calling it Panic, because that's all I feel right now. Enjoy having it in the office we are trying to refinish. Looks kind of bland right now, but it will look better once we get more work into it. But yeah, let's go do it for this episode. I guess be good people, make good choices, and I'll see you next Sunday.